Hello and welcome to another update video about Bitcoin. Limited price movement since the last video that leaves only little room for any updates, but just really to reiterate where we are here. You remember that as we dropped below 18.9k, even though we reclaimed it fairly quickly, my primary expectation is now that we're going to make a new low. Always bear in mind, just because something is my primary expectation, it doesn't mean we have to do it, okay? Because a lot of people always think I have to be right all the time. No, this is just what I think is more likely. But of course, because I don't know what is going to happen tomorrow or in 2 days or next week, it's only my view what is the most likely outcome. It is not written in stone. It is not what definitely needs to happen. Therefore, I'm normally assigning probabilities to the movements that will give you an idea of where I think it's gonna head and what kind of I'm leaning to. And the same way that I was 60% bullish before, I would say, okay, with 60% probability, we are now going to see a new low. Again, it doesn't need to happen. There is still room for protecting the bullish scenario. However, there's really only one bullish case left that we can make, and therefore the probabilities have come down. So of course I don't know what's going to happen. We can only look here with the Elliott waves and generally with technical analysis in general at what is a market capable of doing, not what a market is definitely going to do. So there is still uncertainty left, of course there is, and everybody who's trading needs to understand that. Anybody who's trading in the current market anyway needs to understand that it is a highly volatile market. It is very difficult, especially at the moment. It really is difficult, and it probably is the most difficult market since I really started to cover Bitcoin from the bear market in November, when we said, all right, we're going to come down below 30k, where the situation was always very clear in my opinion. This is now really a market where also in the short term different scenarios can unfold, even though we now have a little bit more clarity as Bitcoin dropped obviously below the 18.9k level. But I understand a lot of people are frustrated in the current market, but I think patience is key in this market. Patience is key, and we have generally very attractive prices, especially for long-term accumulation. And short-term there is a lot of volatility, and that is just what it is, and this is what we need to get used to in crypto. So anybody who's not used to that and gets caught out by the volatility, this is normal in crypto. But where are we now heading? So primary expectation, as I said, is further down, but nothing is moving in a straight line. So the overall expectation is now that Bitcoin created a WXY pattern with a high at around 25k. And we then came down in what I believe are 5 waves. So we have here a 1-2 setup, a wave 3, a wave 4, and a wave 5. This is what was completed. Here obviously there are subwaves that are part of the larger wave 3 that we had here in this decline. I'm now waiting for a wave 2 correction. So this is what we talked about yesterday. A wave 2 correction could now happen at any time. The wave 2 should, if we take a look at the Fibonacci levels here, should reach the area between, so here around about the area between, the minimum would be 21k, but that's the absolute minimum, the 38.2% Fib level. I'd rather say we're looking here at the 21,870. That's the 50% Fib level. You would normally say that this is a minimum for a wave 2, even though it's not an absolute rule. You can also have a very shallow wave 2 and in a very bearish market. It could be that we're already getting rejected here at 21k, for example. And then here the 22.6k level. If we get way above the 22.6k level, which is the 61.8% Fib level, we can say that probably something more bearish is going on now. And for that, I'm also looking here at the 23.3, 23.5k level as some kind of a a boundary or barrier for the bearish count. So if we break out above that, it could very well be that Bitcoin suddenly decides to recover in a larger correction, and again something more bullish is going on. Be aware there is the 50-day moving average here in yellow moving sideways. So there is definitely a chance that now this wave 2 has started, as Bitcoin moved above the $19,300 level. We talked about that yesterday. If Bitcoin moves above that level, it increases the chances that a local low is already in. It indicates that, yeah, so here, that the local low is already in, because we can count 5 waves as complete. Now, one thing I can't rule out, and we never can rule that out, is that Bitcoin decides to make an extended 5th wave. So that this wave 5 in white is going to be extended. That we get something like, let me just show you that. That we get something like a wave 1, a wave 2, a 3, a 4, a 5. That this is going to be an extended wave down. This is still possible, yeah, even though the current move that is going up, in my view, is a 5 wave move, but it's still worth keeping an eye on that and observing it. But this is, this is not my primary expectation. Primary expectation would be that we are now on our way up in a wave 2 correction. Again, I gave you the levels for that. And the wave 2 could play out in ABC, and the wave A could, and that is the most likely outcome, would be a zigzag. So basically that you get in your wave A 5 waves in itself. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's what I'm clearly observing here. So for me, there are basically 2 main counts now, as you probably have just realized. So the first count is that we're now going up into this wave 2, and would then come down in a wave 3, which will eventually, ideally not go below 16K, because there will also be a wave 4 up and a wave 5 down. That's the first count that I think is quite likely. I am expecting still this larger wave 2 correction. Okay, so this would also bring up ETH, would probably bring up ADA and other coins. The other possibility that there is still is that this wave 2 is going to extend. And at what point is that risk limited, that this wave 2 to the downside, that this wave 5 is going to extend and that this wave 5 to the downside is carrying on? That is why I said in the last video, what we ideally want to see now is, if this here was a wave 1, that there will be a wave 2 correction, a higher low, and we are then going to move higher. So we want to see that wave 2 in place. Yeah, that is when I, for example, if I take a trade like that, which at the moment is very risky, yeah, you don't need to trade every day. It's also another point, because everybody tries to trade every day, trying to look for the higher probability setups. Yeah, and this for me is not giving me the confluence that I'd be confident in trading necessarily. But obviously, if you understand it's risky, that's fine. It's up to you. But if you look at that, what we want to wait for here, an impulse up and a correction down, that could then be an entry point. If we see that this is a higher low, then it could really indicate that we are on our way up in a wave A of a wave 2. If we now see an impulse down and we don't make that higher low, which is why it's so important to wait for it, it could very well be that we go below 18.5K and come down in this wave 3 of the wave 5 already. So here, that this is the alternative count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is why it's so important to wait for that wave 2 to the upside. This count, however, would actually be, so if you see this count now with the 5 waves down, this is actually not too bad, because please understand, if we see this count here to the downside, it could very well indicate that if we make another 5 waves down and we'll make a lower low below 17.6K, that could be it. That could be it. Okay, so it could very well be we only come down to 16.9K. Reason for that is, if this wave 5 is extending, then, and the length of that first wave here to the downside, I mean, to be fair, it wasn't super long, right? So that means also the other waves will probably not be super long. And it could mean that we are going to end this bear market then at the low here. So this would be the more, let's say, from the bearish cases, the less bearish one. The more bearish one would be this, because the length of the wave 1 here is a bit concerning. We have the wave 2 to the upside, and then it will be quite a long wave 3. Now again, in which scenario this is going to unfold, we don't know. It could become an ending diagonal. There are different ways of looking at this, but we'll get there. We'll get there, and I think the next hours, probably today or maybe even next couple of days, will tell us more clarity or give us more clarity around which of these two scenarios is now going to play out. Okay, and that's my update about Bitcoin. Hope you liked the update. If you did, please hit the like button, leave a comment and subscribe. And if you really like the content, then check out the channel membership. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.